Hello everyone, Matthew OZANICH here, and welcome to another installment of Destination Michigan. We're coming to you today from Max and Emily's in downtown Mount Pleasant, which we'll learn more about a little bit later in the program. Today's adventure will stretch all across the map, taking us from the Great Lakes shoreline on a hot summer's day to the quiet beauty of a cold winter's day in the woods up north. We'll head back in time, we'll look forward to the future, and make a few new friends. So let's go ahead and take a peek at where we'll be heading today. We get our wintertime adrenaline fix as we head to Snowsnake in Harrison for some snow tubing. Then we'll slow things down with a horse-drawn sleigh ride through the woods of northern Michigan. After that, we'll warm up with a summer's day trek through the hot spots of Port Huron. We'll also see some rare color photos of the building of the mighty Mac and grab a bite at Max and Emily's in Mount Pleasant. All of that is coming your way on this episode of Destination Michigan. To kick off today's adventure, we're heading to Snowsnake in the town of Harrison. It's been in the family for 3 generations now, and in the late 90s, they added on snow tubing to their outdoor adventure offerings. Well, the crew here at Destination Michigan just had to check it out. So Courtney Jerome now takes me and camera guy Adam to the top of the hill at Snowsnake in Harrison.
When it's a slightly brisk yet beautiful winter day in Michigan, what do? You get bundled up and you grab yourself a tube. I go snow tubing.
If you're in central Michigan and you want to have fun, this is the place to be.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Tubing down these 10 acres on Snowsnake's 450-acre property is a great way to experience the outdoors and feel that need for speed. The bonus? The only skill you need to have is the ability to roll out of a tube at the top of the hill, because they pull you up it. And once you're there, just make the decision on what run you want to try.
We have the screamer, the sleeper, the salad bowl, and the roller. The screamer, if you come on any busy day, always has the longest line. And you can always tell by that. The longest line is the best run, and it's definitely the screamer. And the sleeper, it's good. A little bit slower than the screamer. Then next to that on the red lift, we have the salad bowl, and that one takes you in and just curls you around like you're in a salad bowl. And then the roller has 3 or 4 nice dips, and so that's how it got its name.
As you can tell, Matthew and I were a bit partial to the screamer and sleeper runs, tubing both solo and tandem to get more speed. And after a little while, we wanted to try out John's tip to going even faster and add on a 3rd tube, as they allowed groups of up to 5 if the conditions are right. It didn't take much to twist Adam's arm and have him join us.
The one thing about tubing that everyone really likes is that you don't need any special equipment. We have the equipment here, so you dress warm, you come here, and you go tubing. So if you're a skier or a snowboarder, you have to have the equipment, or you have to rent the equipment. Tubing is simpler. You can come and tube for an hour or 2 and have a great time and not have to invest a lot of money in it. Whereas in skiing, which is great fun, snowboarding is great fun also, but you do need to have equipment and you need to practice, and you have to learn how to negotiate the hills and get down. Tubing is for all ages, so you have to be 36 inches tall and able to ride in a tube by yourself to come tubing. So we do have some peanut tubes, double tubes that the little ones can sit in the front and you can sit in the back. We do see, a lot of different sized groups that come, church groups, school groups, families on the weekends. Obviously the kids like to go a little longer than the adults, but the adults come every year. Seems like we have a lot of people that say, hey, we got to do tubing. And every year, check, got to come out and get our tubing in.
Sound like a full family experience? Well, it is. Whether you prefer to drop your kids off to explore while you enjoy the warmth of the lodge or fire pit, or if you join in on the fun along with them. Hit the hill and feel those cold flakes on your face.
Snowsnake is just a great outdoor family experience, somewhere you can go in the winter and be outside, enjoy the outdoors, and get some fresh air.
Snow Snake in Harrison has more than just snow sports. They're a four-season destination with a zip line, golf course, bike trails, and off-roading. Plus, they have educational programs available to help guide your way. More information can be found at snowsnake.net. You know, even during a harsh Michigan winter, spending time outside has never been more popular than it is right now. But for some very large four-legged animals, it's all they've ever known, and they've become quite the tour guides, leading visitors through the beautiful woods in northern Michigan. We hand things off to Stephanie Mills now as she pays a visit to Fantail Farm.
They all have a special something they do good, like Haley doesn't like parades, but Hannah doesn't care. Fergus and Finn will do just about anything, but they tend to be kind of pokey. And then Haley and Hannah are a little more forward and honest and can get a job done a little bit quicker.
Susan Zenker sounds like a very proud mom.
Haley's our big girl. She does a lot of our single horse work, Haley does. And Hannah, even though she's 6 months pregnant, we're still working her. We'll put her both in a team with her sister, or we'll put her on a single sleigh.
Oh, they're so big.
Yep, big, real big. Some tip the scale at over a ton. Susan, of course, is talking about her herd of 9 draft horses that she and her husband Craig are raising on their farm, Fantail Farm, near Benzonia. This 120-acre farm has been in her family since the mid-1960s. Filled with woods and wildlife, it's the perfect way to spend time with loved ones outside.
I've been driving horses since 2006, and that's kind of what culminated this whole thing. So in 2015, as we accumulated more horses, most of our business at that time, though, was not sleigh rides, was off-site stuff, doing things for the villages and just personal stuff. Last year was our first big sleigh ride season.
This whole thing started with Levi. He's the gorgeous black and white draft horse. But he has allergies, so he needs a break in the summer. With Levi out, they needed another horse, and then another, and another.
It's in your blood. It's just, yeah, there's something about it. Because then we have people come with these little kids. She says, oh, she's always wanted a horse. I said, well, be careful, because you're starting something.
Draft is a name for pulling something. For today's ride, we were pulled by half-brothers Fergus and Finn.
We tell people to estimate being here at least an hour and 15 minutes. The sleigh ride actually is 45 to 55 minutes. We have 4 break stops for the horses out on the trail that we take, and that allows also people to ask questions and look around. We have about 6 deer that are hanging around this winter, because we will see cottontail rabbit, we'll see ruffed grouse, sometimes we'll see eagles and some of the other birds. We'll see tracks, coyote, fox, and sometimes we'll see a bobcat track in the wintertime.
In the fall, you can tour the colors at the farm. People can also spot members of the herd taking part in community events across the region. From parades to carnivals, who doesn't want to get up close with these gentle giants?
I think my favorite part actually is all the people that we meet. We have people come, this is new for them. The second favorite part, of course, is the horses. They're what are they, honey? They're our pride and joy, so.
The herd varies in weight from about 1,700 to 2,200 pounds, and in the winter months, they can eat as much as 40 pounds of hay per day. To learn more, information can be found at their website, fantailfarmllc.com. Well, I think it's about time we warm things up a little bit, so for our next story, we're spending a summer's day along the waterfront in one of Michigan's most beautiful lakeside cities, Port Huron. And as you'll soon see, there's much more to the story than sandy shores and blue water. So here we are in downtown Port Huron. It's a beautiful summer's day, and you know, this city is a place that I've been to a couple of times, but I've always wanted to learn more about it. And we're going to be meeting up with Andrew Kircher of Port Huron Museums. He's going to take us to the Fort Gratiot Lighthouse, take us underneath the Blue Water Bridge, and show us some of the few hot spots that are around Port Huron that you're definitely going to want to visit on your next trip. So let's go hit the road and take a look at Port Huron. To kick off our Port Huron excursion, we meet up with Andrew at the Fort Gratiot Light Station.
I figure if anyone comes to Port Huron, this is probably the thing they are most likely to see, and for good reason. We're on the grounds of the Fort Gratiot Light Station. This is actually the oldest light station in the state of Michigan. It's pretty cool. Michigan has more lighthouses than any other state. There's a lot of people who love lighthouses, and you'd really be remiss if you missed this one. We were really kind of presented with a conundrum of what do you interpret at a light station like this? What stories do you tell? Because this lighthouse has been in operation longer than any other in the state. And the 1930s became a pretty logical choice for us to make. And that's because it marks the end of the lighthouse establishment and civilian lighthouse keepers. But the 1930s, it transitions to being Coast Guard control. And there's still an active Coast Guard base right next door. All of these buildings were used by the Coast Guard until just a little over a decade ago. The 1930s is also really important for Port Huron because one of the coolest pieces of infrastructure in the whole state was built in 1938. The Blue Water Bridge opens.
Just downriver from the Fort Gratiot Lighthouse is arguably Port Huron's most famous landmark, the Blue Water Bridge.
Everywhere else you go in the state, when you say the bridge, everyone's talking about the Mackinac Bridge. When you're in the Thumb, and when you're in Port Huron and you talk about the bridge, you're talking about this bridge.
The bridge connects Port Huron to the city of Sarnia, Ontario, across the river.
It was a collaborative effort between the United States and Canada to build that bridge, and it was dedicated to international peace in 1938. And of course, the traffic, this is, I think, the second busiest international border crossing in the country, if not like the Western Hemisphere, one of the busiest, certainly in the whole world. By the 1990s, the one bridge just wasn't cutting it anymore, and they built a second one. A lot of people said it should be an exact copy. Now, we don't care if it's obsolete. It would look weird if it isn't. But the engineers actually came up with a compromise. So it has almost the exact same shape and profile, but it provides a really neat contrast between new and old. It's still an incredibly busy and incredibly important border crossing.
In the shadow of the Blue Water Bridge stands a train depot dedicated to Port Huron's most famous former resident, Thomas Alva Edison.
Thomas Edison is definitely Port Huron's favorite son. Now, he's not born here. He's actually born in Milan, Ohio, but moves up here at a very young age. And this is where he gets his start, his interest in science, technology, and inventing. And he gets a job very early on as a teenager at that railroad station. So his job, he was selling newspapers, candy, apples.
Edison's job at the train station granted him an outlet to put his creativity to good use.
Eventually, started printing a newspaper on the train. He'd print that up on one little page and a little galley press in the back of the train and sell it right then and there. It's like 1860s Twitter. That is information as fast as it comes back then. Being world famous, it was always a treat for the people of Port Huron when you come back home and visit him. So if you come to Port Huron, you'll notice there are a lot of things named after Thomas Edison.
Now, our next stop in Port Huron was something that was completely new to me. In my travels, I've seen plenty of lighthouses, but this was the first time I've ever seen a light ship.
A light ship is a floating lighthouse. Anchors itself on the danger and has a light, just like a lighthouse. You can see it at the top of the mast there. There's actually two of them. We think about a big storm. It's always good to be able to maneuver your ship out of the waves. This is anchored. It's going to go up and down and slam up and down and side, and you have to stay in the same spot as best you are able to warn other sailors about that danger. Now, the Huron was actually the very last of the light ships on the Great Lakes, but this one was being used until 1970, which is pretty crazy when you think about how late that is. It's an important part of Blue Water area history, as well as a fascinating part of just Great Lakes history in general.
After hopping all around town, Andrew and I wrap up our Port Huron tour in the city's vibrant and bustling downtown, right at the mouth of the Black River.
To walk from one end to downtown to the other might take you 45 minutes, but you can see something from almost every decade, going back to the 1840s. I think in the 90s, like a lot of places across Michigan and the Midwest, a mall drew lots of people to outside of town, and downtown was pretty deserted. Well, it's exactly the opposite now. Every store downtown is either open or undergoing construction. Something else is coming in new inside. We've got things for families. We have historic places you can visit. We've got a great beach. You can spend the day outdoors. You can spend it indoors. There is something for literally everyone in Port Huron in a small town atmosphere. I think cool things are happening here. We've got a great influx of young people coming in. We have one of the greatest return of new college grads are coming back to St. Clair County. They're coming back to Port Huron, coming into these downtown shops, into these lofts, and really revitalizing the town. So I'm excited to see where things are going.
If you want to dive even deeper into the history and beauty of Port Huron, you can head to the Port Huron Museum's website at phmuseum.org. And for our next story, we're going to be trading in one bridge for another as we head further north to the tip of the Mid. The Mackinac Bridge was built in the mid-50s, and during its construction, West Michigan-based photographer Henry Zeman snapped spectacular and rare color photos. Henry Zeman passed in 2015, but now his family is sharing his incredible images with the world.
Most photos of the building of the Mackinac Bridge that you're likely to come across will look like this. An impressive sight for sure, but even more impressive is a sight like this. Color photography was still relatively uncommon during the mid-1950s, so most photos of the bridge's construction are in black and white. But between 1954 and 1957, West Michigan-based photographer Henry Zeman would snap these incredible color photos. Henry was a photographer for the Grand Rapids Press from 1952 to 1987. During his career that spanned decades, Henry would photograph presidents, athletes, and what was perhaps most close to his heart, the beauty of the outdoors. He had numerous photos make their way into publications like Field and Stream, Outdoor Life, and Sports Illustrated. However, these stunning photos of Michigan's most famous landmark weren't an assignment for Henry. No, these pictures were a part of his personal collection, and after Henry's passing in 2015, his family decided to share them with the world.
You know, we had all seen them when we were kids and things, but you know, they were just kind of sitting in the basement collecting dust. And there's really no way to really view them. So what we did is we sent them off and had them digitized. A smattering of them I sent out. The bridge photos, because I think the historical significance of them. And in looking what was out there really wasn't that great of photographs out there, and there was virtually no color. So when he was shooting, most of the time for the press during those years, it was all black and white. I don't think they really used much color at all till much, much later than that. So these would have been things that he shot on his personal camera, when he was also up there doing other things.
Throughout the series of photographs, you can witness the construction of the bridge in multiple stages of completion. In some shots, huge sections of the bridge's massive 3,800-foot span are completely gone. One of the most striking differences, though, between the bridge we see today and the one in Henry's photographs is the coloring of the bridge. The barren steel superstructure without its trademark paint job makes the mighty Mac almost unrecognizable. We also see lots of shots of the crews working on the bridge, the brave workers who toiled for years to make this seemingly impossible feat a reality.
I think this was something that was a little special to him. He spent a lot of time in the UP. He went over there quite a bit. He talked about, before the bridge and always riding the ferry and that type of thing. So, I think he was always pretty proud to be able to say that he was able to photograph that during its construction. And as you can see by some of the photographs, he was able to get on the bridge and up the towers, and he had reign to go in certain places during that construction because of his press credentials. He was married in '54, and I know they went to the UP, during their honeymoon, and some of the photographs in there were at the start of the building of the bridge, and I think we're taken on his honeymoon, for example.
Thanks to Henry's passion for photography, a monumental moment in Michigan's history will live on for years and years to come. But with a career that spanned nearly 40 years, these photos are just the tip of the iceberg of Henry's photographic collection.
You can imagine, here's a person that's got a life's work of photography. And it all ended up in my basement, by the way. So down there, I would have to guess and say there's probably 1 million photographs between slides and negatives.
Well, now we're going to wrap things up today right here in the town of Mount Pleasant, home of Central Michigan University. And maroon and gold pride burns bright right here inside one of the community's most popular eateries, Max and Emily's. Located in the heart of downtown, Stephanie Mills shows us how they give back, one meal and one melody at a time.
We view you as family. When you come inside these four walls, we want you to have the best experience possible.
The tasty sandwiches may bring you into Max and Emily's, but odds are the smiles, stories, and good company will keep you coming back. This downtown staple is always finding ways to lift up its community thanks to one idea after another.
You know, we've been doing sandwiches since the early 90s, trying to think outside of what a normal sandwich might be. If I go to the grocery store and pick up a sandwich, it's tough to make a sandwich. I'm gonna get some turkey, some ham, lettuce, tomato, mayo, maybe a pickle, with some bread, and go home and make a sandwich. Here we'd like to think outside of that. You know, what's something that you're not gonna create at home?
Owner Chris Walton, more affectionately known as Elmo, began his career here while he was a college student just down the road at Central Michigan University. Little did he know what a journey the path to the restaurant would lead him on.
Like all kids in their 20s, I needed a job. I was in college. It didn't take long to learn that what it was that Tim was doing here at the time was something different. It was something special.
Tim Brockman owned the restaurant for just over 20 years. His love for the community was well known, and the impact he had on it is still felt, like with the People Helping People program, which started in 2016 and continues today.
Tim learned that the soup kitchen is closed on Sundays, and so if you are a member of our community and you needed a meal, you didn't have any place to go on Sunday. And one of the things that he'd always say was, that's not okay. No one should go hungry in our community. And so together, Tim and myself and the staff here created People Helping People, which is our program where on Sundays you can come down and get a meal at no charge. It's going to be a sandwich, chips, pasta, salad, potato salad, soup in the winter when it's cold, fresh fruit, at no charge, because no one should ever go hungry in our community.
Max and Emily's has about 80 sandwiches and the menu is still growing. All it takes is a great idea and a conversation with Elmo.
Our sandwiches come from lots of different places. Some are our creations, some are guest creations, some are something that maybe we might have borrowed from another restaurant. We try to tie that in together. So if it's something that we create here, we want it to mean something to us, something clever, something fun. Maybe it's the person that created it, maybe it's a funny story of where it came from. If it was a guest creation, you know, who is the guest? What do you want to name your sandwich? Guests have named them everything from the Fiery Turkinator. We did the King Arthur because it's a giant king-size sandwich, and we thought it was clever. Some sandwiches have musical references, whether it's the Tom Pesty or the Southern Man. There's no rhyme or theory behind it. It's just for fun.
Speaking of fun, another one of their well-known events is the Max and Emily's Summer Concert Series, which gives families a chance to enjoy live music for free with acts that have included Jeff Daniels and the Verve Pipe in the past. The event also raises money for local charities.
So Summer Concert started in 2008. Oddly enough, we had a guest who lives out in California come in, and she said, I love this place. I haven't played Mount Pleasant in 8 years. Would it be okay if I come and did a concert at Max and Emily's? Yeah, we'd love that. That sounds like a great idea. And that first year, we would have 700, 800, 1,000 people just come down, hang out downtown, hang out outside, sit in their lawn chairs and listen to great music. And over the years, it's grown into not only a staple of the summertime, but a place where you can come and really listen to some unique bands.
From music to meals to memories, it's easy to see how this restaurant with its quirky named sandwiches quickly gets woven into the mental fabric of students and families for generations.
I love when someone discovers Max and Emily's as a freshman or a sophomore, and then they come here often. And one of the things that's special to us is that when you come down here, we're not going to call you Mrs. Mills. We're going to call you Stephanie. You are family to us. And getting to know these students as they go, as they grow, and as they graduate, it's a great opportunity to serve great sandwiches to great people. It's an opportunity to make a difference in our community, make a difference in our staff's lives, and try to make sure that the world's better because of a great sandwich.
To learn more about Max and Emily's and their People Helping People program, information can be found on their website, maxandemilys.com. And with that, this episode of Destination Michigan comes to a close. And from everyone here, thank you so much for joining us on today's adventure. We'll catch you next time.